Welcome to the Double R Show, the podcast that features everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, directed and produced by Paul Robertson and hosted by the voice of Lincoln City, Roger Robertson.
And welcome to the Double R Show, kicking things off. Going to talk sports.
Okay.
Taft Tiger boys and girls are both in the state basketball playoffs, and the boys will be hosting the first game March 1st at the high school right here in town.
Oh, brilliant.
And the girls will be on the road for their opening game of the state tournament as well. Been a long time since we've seen that type of action coming out of Taft High School with a ball that's inflated.
Okay.
They're just having a good time. I love it. They had a great football season, volleyball season, wrestling, and swimming.
Yeah, I saw some swim.
It's been great.
Stats too, yeah.
We'll talk about that, and we've got some special guests upcoming.
Well, yeah, we're talking about Lincoln City this week, and it's Diamond by the Sea. We're turning 60, so we're going to have the erstwhile mayor, as you like to call Mayor Walkie.
Yep.
And we're going to have Christopher Melton from the North Lincoln Historical Museum on again. And Daphne Lagarza, our city manager, is going to be
All
here.
that and a whole lot more upcoming right after this.
Home-style cooking in a hometown atmosphere. Hi, I'm Adina from Zeller's Restaurant in Rose Lodge in Lincoln City. Join us daily for good fun and great food. You can even kick up your heels at Zeller's.
If you're looking for great early garden fresh produce, it's Kenny's IGA in the Bay Area of Lincoln City. 4 generations of Morgans caring for your every grocery need. All of your favorite beverages, a full deli, meat, produce, and of course, groceries.
Zantello Law Group has moved. I'm Josh Zantello, and our law firm is now located across from the Lincoln City Community Center on Northeast 21st. Our law firm of knowledgeable professionals stand ready to assist you in life's matters.
Lincoln City will soon be 60 years young. With us right now is a gentleman that knows the history of Lincoln City. He is the executive director for the North Lincoln County Historical Museum. Christopher Melton's with us. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
You have got 60 years of experience now talking about Lincoln City, kind of, or Lincoln City has 60 years of experience that Christopher Melton is talking about.
Right. Yes.
Tell me what kind of special exhibits you may have at the museum for the celebration.
Well, we don't have anything specific to celebrate the 60th right now. We are working with Explore Lincoln City and the city to put together some information on that. I've been going through folders and folders of old newspaper articles about the creation of Lincoln City and all of the events we've had over the years to celebrate each different year.
Have you found any stories that you find particularly amusing?
Well, from what I can glean, they were trying to incorporate Lincoln City as Lincoln City since the 1930s. There were multiple meetings. I mean, some of it was trying to incorporate smaller neighborhoods, but they'd constantly have meetings about it. And it was pretty controversial. People didn't
really.
Yeah, people were very intent on keeping their little towns.
Some of that still is prevalent.
Yeah, I get that feeling from folks sometimes. There's a lot of, what would the right word be, like passion for these little neighborhoods, like Nelscott and OceanLake and Taft. You know, they are their own little.
I want mine.
Yeah, they're their own little districts, and moving away from that sort of village atmosphere or environment, I think was hard for a lot of people.
And still is carried forth in some circles.
Yeah.
With the 60th anniversary of the city of Lincoln City, will you then be doing, you talked about you're working with a couple of other organizations. What's going to go into that?
So I'm not entirely sure yet what the city is planning on doing. I will probably have a small exhibit up in our Ann Hall gallery, sort of showing photos of that time and some little blurbs, but it hasn't been the main focus of ours right now.
You mentioned the name Ann Hall.
Yes.
And some credit's got to be given to what she put into that museum.
Oh, yes, of course. She has done so much for the museum and for the city, everything. She wrote all the contact statements for each neighborhood, and those are now compiled in a book, too, which you can check out at our research library, or I think the city has it as well.
Okay, you talk about a research library. What all is in that library?
We have a library of books. We have newspaper microfilm from 1927 all the way up through 2010. We have articles and books that locals have written about their families, about the history. We have Taft yearbooks. We have anything you could probably think of. We have maps. We have original plat maps, and for like Nelscott and Taft, we have all of those things.
Couple of minutes ago, we were talking a little bit about the building itself for the museum. I had mentioned in an earlier interview that it was City Hall before it was a museum. Paul came back and said it was a fire hall before it was City Hall, before it was a museum. There are some stories that go back to the fire hall days, correct?
Yeah, the fire hall was built in 1931 by volunteers. It was the first one in the area. We've got pictures of guys hanging out with boards on top of the frame, and my office is there in the main part of that photo. And it was an important building. It was used as barracks in World War II for soldiers. And then in 1965, when we incorporated, it did become the first city hall.
Building's got a lot of history.
It sure does, yeah.
How important is it for us to preserve our history?
I think it's one of the most important things we can be doing. Without our history, we don't know who we are, I think.
I like that. Without our history, we don't know who we are or where we've been.
Or what this place is, or what has happened here.
Do you have a lot of school students that come into the museum doing research? You talked about research activities that you got.
Yeah, we've had several high school students with research questions that we were able to help with. And I think that's a really important thing to do, is work with high schools and get students access to primary resources, teach them how to use an archive, let them find information on their own and not just regurgitate something from another history book. You know, when you're working with primary resources and looking at those original photos and reading people's oral histories and their stories, I think that gives you a much closer connection to what you're writing about personally. So that's something I would like to grow more, like more of engagement with high schoolers. We also get tons of school groups all the way from kindergartners through high school and college doing field trips, which is great.
The museum is open what days?
We're open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 4.
Now, again, we've been talking about the 60th anniversary of the city of Lincoln City, but that's not to say that's where the history that you have preserved begins.
Oh no, our history goes way, way back.
To?
We have some items that traveled on the Oregon Trail, so 1800s. We have this weird quilt. I don't remember when it's from, but it saw a lot. It was like burned multiple times and fell in an ocean, and I don't know. Ended up with us. But then we also have stories that go back much further to the 1700s, and we have all that history.
Christopher Melton, Executive Director, North Lincoln County Historical Museum. We'll be back in just a moment.
Starship, featuring Mickey Thomas. Saturday, March 1st, Chinook Winds Casino Resort. Starship. Tickets are on sale now at ChinookWinds.com, Chinook Winds box office, or by phone at 1-888-MAIN-ACT. The journey continues. Starship, featuring Mickey Thomas. Chinook Winds, where concerts are better at the beach.
City Manager, City of Lincoln City, Daphne Lagarza, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me.
Last weekend, the people down at the Glass Foundry made a wonderful glass float. Now, we're going to say to Daphne Lagarza, City Manager, open your crystal ball and let's look at what's down the road 2, 3, 4 years.
Okay. We have quite a few things down the road 2, 3, 4 years. We have a lot going on around housing. That's kind of a long-range planning. That's one of the council's priorities, of course. So housing, and right now we're shifting our focus a little bit from maybe the affordable realm to the middle housing realm, if you will. There's a lot going on at the state level to support middle income housing. So we too are kind of pivoting in that direction. We realize that we want to make a push for middle housing like we have been for affordable housing. So that's one of the big pushes over the next 3 to 5 years.
Specifically, Daphne, doing what?
So looking at how to encourage and incentivize the development of middle income housing. We also, part of the housing around all types of housing is we did receive a grant from the state this year. We received a $3 million grant for the Spring Lake area. We're looking at trying to not just encourage, but make it feasible for housing to occur in parts of Lincoln City that have not been able to develop.
Now, this we're talking about some planning issues, or what are we talking about?
So it runs the whole gamut. Yes, some of the housing related issues are policy issues, things we can do to incentivize around policy, for example. Some of the other issues around housing is, again, like we received the grant for the Spring Lake area, is infrastructure. So right now, there may be places in Lincoln City where it's not cost feasible to develop housing because the infrastructure isn't adequate and it's too costly to bring in the adequate infrastructure. We also are working on the villages, which is another potential housing development, amongst other things. So we're doing a lot of things policy-wise, incentive-wise. I mean, there's just a gamut. We are also in the process of doing a housing production roadmap, and we received a grant to do this study. We're about to bring it to council in a month or two, the final plan, if you will. And what this is a precursor to our housing production strategy, which we have to do in 2 years. And this is kind of a precursor to it and maybe more of a technical report to help us get started on a lot of the incentives and a lot of the policy things that we can do to promote housing in Lincoln City.
All right, that's a huge undertaking in itself. Number 2 on the list of to-dos would be what?
I would think our big number 2, and we're in the throes of budget as we speak, is revenue. We have more of a 3 to 4 to 5 year short-term plan looking at funding gaps where we don't have adequate revenues and talking to council about those and what we can do on a local level. Also, on a broader level for funding resilient, basically we're looking for sustainable and resilient funding revenue streams, if you will. And on a broader level, at the state level, the League of Oregon Cities has started a revenue reform effort, if you will. And that's more like a 10-year plan. But that's looking at city revenues across the state for all cities. And right now, cities they're struggling with revenues in general. The revenues aren't keeping up with the expenses in cities throughout Oregon. So the League of Oregon Cities has started the process of this kind of revenue reform look in the state of Oregon. And like I say, it's going to be a 10-year process. I think the first part of it is going to be a lot of education and a lot of outreach so that folks understand what city revenues are, how they work, because they're pretty complicated, and not everyone is up to speed as far as revenues when it comes to local government.
All right, now we've gone from housing to raising money to what's number 3?
Oh, wow. Okay, for number 3, we have a lot of little ones, so I'm going to try and maybe hit on another big one, which is our master planning efforts. And I know I've mentioned this before, but we are embarking on master plans galore, if you will. We have our water master plan underway, we have our wastewater master plan underway, and there's the storm drain master plan, and we are also looking at embarking on our street lighting master plan. So we're just looking at creating these plans that are going to help us 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road so that we know what's needed and we know what we have to do moving forward so we can budget accordingly or we can plan accordingly. So we're I don't want to say, we're an aging city like all cities, right? So we just need to keep up with things. We need to plan for future needs, and we're doing our best to at least understand what those future needs are across the board, infrastructure-wise.
That's a lot of glass floats in the air.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a lot of glass floats. We wish you continued success with that. And we know that you will be bringing this to council. If people have got input they want to make to Daphne about one of these three, what do they do?
So throughout all these processes, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for public comment, public outreach. Definitely attend the city council meetings. And then, like I say, with a lot of these things, there's going to be education, there's going to be outreach involved. These aren't short-term things, if you will. It's going to be quite the process. And there's going to be an educational process. There's going to be a public outreach project. One thing that we just had recently out there for the public was our strategic plan survey information that was out there. And we had quite a robust response. We're working on our strategic plan development right now, and we are partnering. We're using the Coraggio group to do this study, and there's 4 other cities that are in the group with us through the League of Oregon Cities that are doing their strategic plans while we do our strategic plan. So we all sent out surveys, and we in Lincoln City had one of the most robust responses of all the cities. So we're excited about that. We got a lot of good information back from those surveys. I hope you both took the survey. And then we're going to be developing our strategic plan, which is basically our roadmap. Also based on the council's strategic priorities. It's kind of the city's roadmap to help us prioritize these things as we move forward.
City Manager Daphne LaGarza, back in a moment.
Wouldn't it be great to have all your insurance needs handled by one agency? This is Charlotte Lado with Farmers Insurance and the Insurance Store. Visit our office next to the Wildflower Grill in Lincoln City. Let us be your one stop for your personal, commercial, health, and Medicare insurance needs.
We at La Roca are proud of our food, but don't take our word for it. Read the reviews. One person wrote, the service was friendly and efficient. Another writes, La Roca has become one of our favorites because it's authentic Mexican food.
And our next guest on the Double R Show is the erstwhile mayor of the city of Lincoln City, Mayor Susan Walke. Mayor, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You have been on the council for a number of years, not only as mayor, but as a council person, correct?
Yes, I was on council, and prior to that, I was on budget committee. And then I lost my race for mayor and was off for about 2.5 years. But I was watching. And when Senator Anderson was elected to the state Senate, his position became available, and I ran and was elected. So I have actually been mayor since June of 2022.
Okay.
Or 2021.
What brings you the most satisfaction in that?
Representing Lincoln City and communicating with our residents. As a chamber ambassador, I promoted Lincoln City, and now as its mayor, I promote Lincoln City.
And that satisfaction for you, accomplishments you feel that have been noteworthy, if you will, that you've been involved in?
Well, so many things that have taken place in the last 2 years have taken 5, 6, 7 years to accomplish. So it hasn't just been when I'm mayor. A lot of things started to happen when I was on council. And then things continued, and now we're seeing some results of all that hard work.
I know earlier in the program we had the city manager on, and she was talking about forecasting out to 3, 5, 10 years. That takes a lot of, I don't know what the right word would be, to be able to look that far into the future.
Long-range planning is really, really important. Back in the old days, when I was a city employee, we had a wonderful finance department who was really good at long-range planning and looking into the future of what the city's needs are. And I don't mean to discredit our current
understand.
finance department, but Ron Tierney and Bill Works were amazing, and they set the city up for some really good things. I mean, just to see how they were able to establish the lodging tax so that we have lots of ways that our lodging tax can help our city. Our city hall building was paid for by lodging tax dollars. Our new police department was paid for with lodging tax dollars. And that's a lot more flexibility than some cities have.
Are there other things that you feel should be done with those dollars now as you look into the future?
I feel that we should be able to spend more of our lodging tax dollars on infrastructure. Our infrastructure has to support 30,000 people on a busy summer weekend. There's only 10,000 people here in town who are primarily paying for that infrastructure. When visitors come, they want their toilets to flush. They want clean water. They want streets that aren't all bumpy.
Has to be.
Yeah. And I would like a little more flexibility, not just for Lincoln City, but for all cities throughout Oregon.
Would you see that as something you will champion, if you will, with the League of Oregon Cities?
I have and I continue to.
Politically speaking, that's exactly what you're into on that type of basis, right?
I'm very happy to be a board member of the Oregon Mayors Association. I've had one meeting so far, and I really enjoyed the group because we're all about solving problems and not politically.
Okay.
We don't talk politics, we just get things done.
And I certainly hope that you've taken the 2025 Visitor Guide Explore Lincoln City to those meetings to say and brag a little bit about your hometown.
Yes, I do. The Oregon Mayors Association has a great program at our annual conference. We each are expected to bring a basket representing our city, things from our city. And thanks to the many great donations I get from our local businesses, I'm able to put together a good basket that then we have a silent auction. And all those proceeds go to scholarships so that mayors of small towns can come to our conference.
Very good. We have quickly running out of time. We're looking at the 60th anniversary of the city of Lincoln City. Any specific things that you hope to talk about at that point in time?
The community center will have free admission on March 3rd. We're not going to do the big hoopla that we did for the 50th, but maybe we can on the 75th.
We'll have the parties just the same.
That's right. Celebrate being 60.
That's not a bad thing.
No.
That's not a bad thing.
I remember doing that a long time ago.
Mayor Susan Waukee celebrating her birthday of sorts. And we'll just leave it at that, Mayor.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Northwest Septic Service is your one-stop shop for all your septic needs.
Northwest Septic Service offers pumping, maintenance, repair, and inspections with one call, 541-994-6977.
Buying or selling a home? Northwest Septic Service can inspect your sewer line or an entire septic system.
Old or failing septic system? Northwest Septic Service can rejuvenate most drain fields, saving you thousands of dollars. 541-994-6977.
Serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties, Northwest Septic Service.
You'll find a book for every occasion at Bob's Beach Books. Something to read as you relax by an open fire? We have it. Studying a particular topic? We have that too. Traveling to a far-off land? Discover it first by reading. Bob's Beach Books in the OceanLake area of Lincoln City? Come discover.
Well, our special thanks to our guests for being with us today on the Double R Show. Some other activities in and around the region that are forthcoming. March 5, down at Gracie's Sea Hagen, fun-filled, beautiful downtown Depot Bay. Fleet of Flowers, Fish, and Chips dinner.
Oh, I'm thinking about heading down there.
Absolutely, positively. This is the event that does provide the funding to buy all of the flowers for all of the boats that are covered with flowers on Memorial Day and then go to sea. So it's $25 and all proceeds go to the Fleet of Flowers, Fish and Chips, coleslaw, garlic bread, and a scoop of sherbet. And there's also going to be a silent auction and a 50-50 raffle. So make certain that you put that on your calendar. Go on down to Depot Bay to the Sea Hag, for good times are happening in beautiful downtown Depot Bay. And Icons of the Sea, that's got to be something that you know a little bit more about.
Yeah, so we've got another Gyotako Master Printing class at the Pelican Brew Pub Saturday, March 15th. The Ides of March there from 11 to 5 at the Pelican Brew Pub. So go to cascadehead.org and register for one of these limited seats for an exquisite master printing class of these incredible icons of the sea.
And we've got a Mardi Gras celebration going to be taking place at the Lincoln City Cultural Center. This is a fundraiser for the Sluts Bay Music Festival. It's $125 per person. That is Saturday night. Saturday night, we all get together at Saturday night, 5:30 to 9:30, again at the Cultural Center. Taft High is annual Career and Community College Fair coming up on April the 16th, 9 to noon. This is an opportunity to showcase your business, your college or trade school, or the entire student body. Reserve your space today. You brought in a catalog, visitor's guide, I guess it is, and this is just well done.
Yeah, it's a real jewel. Explore Lincoln City's got their new visitor guide out for the season, and highlighted. I have to give a shout out to the Cascade Head UNESCO site here that's in our area, and really kind of features a lot of that, but it reaches into all the aspects of our community. So I'd recommend people getting a copy of this themselves and sharing it with your family and friends, and entice them to not only visit but come move to the beach.
Well, and on top of that, when your family and friends come down here to visit you and you're wondering what they can do, here it is.
Yeah, it's a really nice piece and very informative. Obviously, all the lodging folks will want to get some copies of these and get those out into the hands of their customers.
And I assume for copies, you can go to the 4th floor of City Hall, at the Explore Lincoln City office up there on the 4th floor, and they would have them there. I don't know where else.
I assume that's going to be the one way you could grab them, sure, and then I'd just reach out to Explore Lincoln City individually to find out how to best get them, maybe for your properties or the like.
And last but not least, I'd like to draw your attention again to the 3rd Annual Home and Garden Show, sponsored by Habitat for Humanity. This is a major fundraising activity for Habitat. And again, they do just some wonderful things. There will be raffles, silent auction, free admission. This year, they moved it to the Newport Rec Center, bouncing back and forth in North and South County, which makes a lot of sense. Saturday, April the 26th, 10 to 3. And if you would like a booth sponsorship, call 458-277-7606. And again, congratulations and thank you to the people at the Lincoln City Glass Center. Last weekend, they blew that glass float, which was just absolutely staggering. I have not stood in a facility like that and watched the glass float just explode, if you will. And as it's happening, everybody in the audience starts clapping. They were just excited about what was happening right before their very eyes.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to see these floats being blown, large and small. So, you can go down to the Glass Center and blow your own float, of course, and even just watch folks that are doing it. So, yeah, it's really quite an attribute here in town.
And Kelly Howard and her company just did a wonderful job of blowing that huge glass float. It was wonderful. Anything else your side of the table?
Just a happy 60th. Congratulations, Lincoln City, on their diamond celebration.
And go Taft Tigers. Man, I'm excited to go watch the kids play basketball. That'll do it to the doings on the Double R Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share so you, your family, and friends around the world and across the street can join us here on the Double R Show. For Paul, Jana, I'm Double R. Have a happy day.
You've been listening to The Double R Show. Join Roger and Paul Robertson as they explore everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, produced by Always Productions and hosted by Roger Robertson. Have a story? Email contact@alwaysproductions.com or call 458-201-3039. For The Double R Show, I'm Jana Grawn.